Did you end up deciding what APC actually meant?
Oh, I think we both know what APC actually means.
I know a few different versions. What top of your head? What do you think it was called?
It's whatever you want it to be, bro.
I always I always I always heard it as
That's exactly.
one of the complaints that I got on Sean's. Actually, it wasn't a complaint, and it wasn't necessarily about Sean's podcast necessarily, but someone did mention that and I do it on purpose. I don't introduce the person because I feel like putting like an intro is just so mundane and so scripted. It's like, hey guys, welcome back to episode 22. It just doesn't make sense. So I will give a bit of an introduction to Alfonso. Alfonso is a good friend of mine. We went to university together. I feel like the next couple of podcasts is just going to be like nothing but people I went to uni with. Like people will see you over the next.
But that's how you get started, man.
Yeah, exactly. And so like Alf used to live here in Brisbane. We used to live together as well for a few months. And now you're over in Adelaide now. You're one of Rideaware's media team. What would you actually call yourself a part of the media team over in Rideaware?
So my official title role is videographer. So in-house media team, we have the videography team, we have the graphic designers, like we have photographers, and then we have a sort of creative head, creative director. So I sit very snugly in the videography sort of little corner.
Okay. Every time I talk to you or Josh about like Rideaware and how everything works over there, because I'm just so fascinated about how like media teams are incorporated in different businesses. So with the media team as a whole, and the reason why I ask this is because, and I'm not trying to say anything about Rideaware, but like I can't imagine you constantly filming and editing, promotional videos all the time. So like out of like, your day-to-day life at Rideaware, what do you actually do throughout the day?
Well, you've almost hit the nail on the head. Like it is a bit of a dream job, to be completely honest. Like it is a lot of shooting. Like it's a lot of content. But as with most filmmaking, and not a lot of people know this if you don't do filmmaking or like videography, whatever, a lot of it is planning and a lot of it is editing. So we will do, a week or so of just like planning, or we'll just do editing, and then it'll get to like a shoot day or like a shoot days where we'll fly in some athletes from different parts of Australia. Well, obviously not so much anymore with COVID, but we'll get people in and we'll shoot them for a couple of days, and then it's back to editing, back to planning, and it's just a repeat on that. In terms of like filling out the day though, like there's way more jobs in an e-commerce business than you might think. So like obviously there's UGC, which is user generated content, stuff that we get sent or stuff that we request from like athletes. So Rideaware is mainly based in influencer marketing. So we get like videos sent from influencers all the time, and that's one of the things that we edit. There's also animation jobs, which is like we collaborate with the graphic designers, and we just animate like web banners and stuff like that, and like little animations for like ads and social posts and stuff like that. So there's a lot to do.
Okay. And when you guys do like your general promotional, like let's say like there's a new line of clothing that comes out, from start to finish and like the whole creative process, what's the time frame of actually starting to plan like, okay, this is kind of like what we want to do to a final product? Like what's the actual timeline for that?
It really varies. It really depends on what the creative brief is, and how big we want to make it. So for example, Black Friday is a huge sale for us, and we spend a lot of time planning that out, getting a lot of content, flying in different athletes for all that sort of stuff. And it's, that one takes a while, but like oftentimes there'll be like, other ranges which have like a limited run, limited release, and then that'll be bang, bang, in and out. I can't really say like how long it takes on average because it's all so dependent.
You mentioned just briefly before with, flying in athletes, you don't really do it a whole lot anymore because of COVID. How, like, because the time that like you've been working at Right Away, how much has COVID affected? Obviously, it's kind of coming down a little bit now, but like when COVID was at its peak, how much did that affect you guys? Not necessarily the media team, but like Right Away as a whole. How did it affect you guys?
Well, that's a funny story, because round about this time last year, we were in Melbourne. We were filming an event, and we started getting the news that COVID was happening in America, and it was coming to Australia, and there were cases, and we were like, oh, damn, all right, cool. Anyway, we come back, and then we get told, oh, yeah, you guys need to be on like a 2-week quarantine. And we're like, fair enough, we just came from interstate. That's fine, so we go on to quarantine for 2 weeks, and that was fine because we had all the content for the shoot day, so, Bob's your uncle. Literally the day we get back, we get pulled into a meeting in the car park, and they were just like, yeah, so we're going into lockdown, so go back home. I'm like, we just set everything up, man. So that was an interesting time, trying to sort of continually churn out content, which was a really interesting creative challenge, actually. Something that we all sort of, we all understood that there was a need for content to be made. So trying to figure out how to do it was what took up most of our time. But we're really fortunate in Radelaide to have dealt with COVID quite nicely. Much like Brisbane, where you are. We were able to get over it quite quickly. Like clubs and venues back open, restaurants back open. You can dance now if you want. Not that I'm a dancer.
Yeah.
But we handled it like champs, I think.
That's the funny thing about COVID, because with the last episode, I'm not too sure if I mentioned it or I might have cut it out, but I said to Sean that I shot the Jamie Oliver video for like the restaurant here in Brisbane. And I was supposed to fly out to Adelaide to film the Adelaide Jamie Oliver. But unfortunately, COVID hit. Like, this is like, I think this was like March last year. It was like nearly a year ago that I did it. And unfortunately, I just couldn't.
I remember you putting that out. It looked really good.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, it honestly, like, in terms of feedback that I got from like things that I put out, like, that's like the top. I don't think I've made anything since that's kind of like, given so much positive feedback. But yeah, like that, unfortunately, it's funny, that restaurant shut down, the one in Brisbane, like the one I actually filmed in shut down.
No.
Yeah, so
wow.
I can't say for the one in Adelaide, I don't know if it's still running or not, but like regardless, like I just couldn't fly out there anymore because we weren't going to do the project. But it's hard to say, obviously, because you're not in like a freelancing position, but like with COVID and how like it affected, like I've seen a lot of people who it's affected so many like creative, not necessarily creative, but like, careers in different avenues. And for me, it was really the opposite because, a lot of people would have so many clients that just can't do anything because of restrictions. Whereas, I was heavily in real estate. And so when when COVID hit, real estate agents couldn't do open homes. They couldn't do just the general stuff that like had the general public coming in. So instead of doing just typical open homes, we had to do video open homes. So like invite a lot of people in. So it's really interesting seeing how like, different industries and different avenues have changed because of, with COVID, in the sense that, a lot of people, the work picked up and a lot of people, the work died. And it's interesting to see how like you guys kind of like changed the way you work with COVID.
No, absolutely. I've been constantly amazed at the various industries and how they're able to pivot from, traditional sort of strategy to now COVID safe marketing and COVID focused stuff. Like it's been like, especially from, I guess my role is more creative, but I'm still part of, I guess, a marketing role. Like seeing that change, that switch up, it's been super, super fascinating. It's just fascinating.
I know you guys went into lockdown, but did you have to do any work from home for a while?
Yeah, we did. And obviously, being videographers,
that would have
sucked. You would know this. That
would have sucked.
Yeah, it sucked. It sucked for one, but also you need a beefy computer.
Exactly.
Yeah, so all of the hard drives, all of the work gear, we had to like chuck into cars and take them all back. Lucky, so at that time, I was living with Josh and another guy from work, and it was kind of like just being at work anyway, but it was just at home. So it was actually quite funny, and they would always reference us as like, just like the second Riderwear HQ, which is funny.
That's really cool. You were because when you were here in Brisbane, you did a lot of like barista stuff. You actually were a barista in a bar, right, in the city?
I was more a bartender, but I definitely did my fair share of baristering. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, barista. Sorry, that's fucking coffee. What am I on about? That's coffee. Bartending. Fuck me. Do you do any bartending as a hobby on the side anymore? Fuck me. Ignore me.
You're all good. You're all good. It's actually funny you mentioned that because I've been thinking about getting back into it. I've always had a real keen interest in like flavors and culinary arts and stuff like that, and that all sort of stems. Here I go with my life story. This all stems from me and my mum in the kitchen. Like she would always drag me into the kitchen, teach me how to cook things. She'd like hold up spices to my nose and just be like, "Alfonso, what's this?" And I sort of developed like a love for food then. And so when it came to bartending, like I love bartending. Alcohol and bartending is not like food in the sense that you grow up with it. Like a lot of people get into alcohol when they're 18, but in Australia, maybe not so much. Maybe
12?
Closer to the 17s.
No.
There's a lot of underage drinking in Australia, I will admit, but like alcohol is a foreign flavour to people for a majority of their lives. And a majority of Australians, especially with the drinking culture, you and I both know, like it's just like, oh yeah, let's get on the piss.
Literally, yeah.
It's never like really thinking about like flavours of alcohol. Like when you think whiskey, what do you think? You think Jack Daniels because that's what you drank as a 17-year-old passed out in the field.
Well, I just finished my like 1 year sober thing, so it's kind of like changed my opinion on alcohol a lot, which I don't know. Like I may be going against what I'm about to say, but like I don't necessarily get the whole, oh my god, it's been a long week, I need a beer, or it's been a long week, I need like a rum and coke or anything. When literally like 20 minutes ago I saw a White Claw in the fridge, I'm just like, that would be pretty good to have right now. But yeah, I think it's good to have. I think it's good to have a break up from alcohol for a while, because with the post that I put up online, one of the things I said was I think it was the first 3 months, the whole foggy feeling in my head went away, and then when I kind of like thought back to what it was like when I was like, I wasn't drinking a lot, but it was just, I just noticed that my thoughts weren't as clear. And then, kind of like getting rid of alcohol for a while, I kind of just like, oh, okay, I can think a little bit more clear, or my thoughts are a little bit more, very quick with things. And it's interesting once you take a break from alcohol, that's actually the effect that it's had on me. Again, it could be different for everyone, but I think the reason why I this may be like I'm rambling, like, ooh, look at me, but like, it's interesting because not whole lot of people can say they've done 3 months, let alone a year off, so they don't know what the effects of it are. And
for sure.
Yeah, I actually had a few people, because the screenshot that I shared on the Facebook post and Instagram post was people messaged me saying, what's the app that you called? And I was surprised by the amount of people that came and saying, hey, what's the app that you're using? I really want to come down on my drinking. Oh, I wish, yada, yada, yada. I wish I did something like this. So I think a lot of people do want to have it, but it's just become such a socially acceptable thing. Like, I don't know why we're talking about this. Like, it's just so funny how it's like fucking, but yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like, and that's one of the things that I realized after the 1 year was, peer pressure is such a huge thing, and it's such a huge thing because drinking is such a huge thing. It's such a socially acceptable thing. And it's, I've realized that after going to parties and just, that's all that people do. Like, I come from a small town where it's, you either drink or that's it. Yeah. You either drink or do drugs. Like, literally, like that's it. And it's very interesting. Like, just, having a break and just seeing what the effects of it are.
Absolutely. And I can definitely attest to that. Like, I did dry July, not last year, but the year before. And this was probably right in the middle of sort of my bartending when I was still doing it. And I often describe bartending as It's like working at a water park.
As a
Eventually, you're gonna get wet
working at a what? Sorry.
at a water park.
Oh right.
It's like working at a pool. Eventually, you're gonna get wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you drink?
But there's
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, did you drink often while you were working at? Oh, fucking like working.
I was pretty good. I didn't drink on shift. That was sort of like one of my personal rules, because when I'm at work, and I still carry this to this day, when I'm at work, and I'm there to work. Don't get me wrong though, as soon as it clocks off, all bets are off. But I definitely know a lot of people who were in the bartending industry who definitely like drank a lot on shift, and a lot of my really good friends did. And you know, you can't really judge someone for their choices, because you know, you don't know what they're going through or what their choices are. Like, it's not your place to do that. But you know, get it. I know people who've gotten fired for drinking behind shift, or like, you know, drinking too much.
Okay.
And that to me, that was a little bit sad. But you know what, like, it's not my circus, not my monkeys. But yeah, I took dry July when I was bartending, and you know, when you bartend, like, as I said before, you get wet, you drink a lot, because that's just the culture. You're surrounded by alcohol. Why not? Like, it's like Australian drinking culture on steroids.
Yeah.
Like Australian bartenders, like, they drink a lot, and it gets a lot very quickly. And if you're not prepared, like fully prepared to handle it, it can catch up on you fairly quickly. Hence why a lot of bartenders drink on shift. I mean, that's not obviously the only reason, but it happens.
One of the things that I did want to touch on as well, because obviously, like, you know, you've gone to Adelaide to work for Riderwear as well. Are you still hoping or wanting to work somewhat more in the actual film industry itself, or are you pretty happy with where you are at the moment?
You know what? This is actually something I was thinking about recently.
I've been thinking about it a lot.
I think,
like, for me,
I think that's kind of the dream for anybody who puts up a camera. Would you agree? Like, anybody who puts up a camera is like, I want to work on a Spielberg film, or I want to work on this film with this person, with this lighting, that sort of thing. So I think yeah, definitely, I definitely want to get back to the film industry. And yeah, it is difficult though. It's very dependent on who you know and how you present yourself.
Yeah.
But there are definitely lots of ways in. Like, for example, if you're a camera person, so anybody watching, I guess, who's a camera person, loves lighting, the best place to go is the nearest cinematographer society. So, like, if you're in Australia, the Australian Cinematographer Society, it's one in every major city. And they usually do like weekly meetings, meetups, gear demos, like lighting, camera. I remember in Brisbane, I used to go all the time. They would do like movie screenings at the university, and they would get in with the DP who actually shot DP, meaning director of photography. And they would get that person in, we'd watch the film, and then we would talk to the DP about it, like all the decisions that they made, why they did certain things the way they did, any interesting stories. So that's a great way to like connect with people in the industry, and obviously get onto commercial shoots and movie shoots.
Would you say, and this is a bit biased because you've gone to film school, but would you say film school is a necessary tool that you could use or that you need to get into the film industry?
That is a question I get asked all the time. All the time I get asked that. And I think for me, looking back at film school, I don't think I needed it. But there's a very specific reason. I think film school is good for people who need to sit down for 8 hours a day and just do film, to hone their craft and to be around like-minded people who do film and just live and breathe film for like 2-3 years, and then that's how you get your start. However, I think if you're the kind of self-driven, like sort of teach myself anything, like kind of guy or gal, film school is completely unnecessary. You can learn everything that film school teaches you on YouTube. You can learn everything just by being on a film set. I remember my first day on an actual film set and watching the people work and just realizing, oh my God, I've wasted X amount of money on my uni degree. Because I learned so much on that first day that no one could have ever taught me at uni. Well, not that they couldn't have taught me, but I didn't learn it at uni, I learned it on set.
What was the film set that you were on, if you don't mind me asking?
So I worked on a film set called, I think it was called Hobson's Choice. It was this indie film and we got this like English DP. I don't even know what happened to that film, but it's where I did my internship.
Yep.
It was not good. It was not a good film set. However, I think some of the best learning experiences come from adversity.
Yeah.
And then I worked with. Then the next set that I was on was. Do you remember To?
No.
To?
No.
Like the Chinese student.
No.
Okay. So there was a Chinese student that went to. I can't believe you forgot him.
Wait. What's his name? What's his name?
To. T-O-H. And Krug, always used to call him To.
Was he the dude? Oh fuck, this is really bad. Was he the guy who was trying to pitch that ballerina movie a lot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he did a film, a short film, but like it wasn't short. Like when you think short film, you think like 5, 7, 13 minutes, right? This was like a 40-minute film. Yeah, like a short film. But we had a great DP by the name of Brad Day.
Yeah. Brad's cool. Yeah, I don't know him personally, but I love him.
Yeah. So I got to meet him. He was a great DP, and I worked with an amazing gaffer, Rob Stocks. Absolutely fantastic. Taught me a lot about lighting. And yeah, so he directed a film, and initially I was just an extra. It was a library scene at that antique bookstore in Brisbane City.
Rings a bell, but yeah.
Like the one with like 1,000 antique books.
Oh yeah. I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So in there is like the main sort of area, which looks kind of daggy or whatever. But there's a back room that's like all done up, like super beautiful. Like super nice, and it was like $1,000 a day or some ridiculous number to like just shoot in there, like to lock it off and shoot in there. But we did, and Brad Day and Rob Stocks obviously not very cheap. Anyway, so I rock up there just as an extra because I want to help out, and then they start unloading gear, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm here not doing anything. Might as well start helping with the gear, this and that, and then eventually I managed to position myself in a way that I'm first AC.
Nice.
Yeah, so here's me never having even seen a proper like cinema camera, and now all of a sudden I'm handling a red with like Zeiss like Cineprimes.
Yeah, what red does Brad use again?
I believe it's a red dragon.
Dragon? Okay.
6K.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, or a red weapon. I think it was a helium. I can't remember. Anyway, I know that he upgraded somewhere along the line, but it was a red of some description. And that was sort of my first taste at like how a set should be run. We had Jaden Bowen as the first AD, and he's always killer. I highly recommend it for any sort of shoot. Anybody watching?
Yeah.
Jaden Bowen.
I want to get Jaden on the podcast soon. Just have to see what his availability is.
Riot.
Yeah, I think he'd be really good.
He'd be an absolute riot. But yeah, no. So then we ended up shooting at the Masonic Temple.
What?
So you know the Freemasons, right?
Yeah.
The cult.
Yeah.
You know that how they have a whole building in Brisbane.
No, I didn't know about that. Did they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's a cult for you.
Shit. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they have this beautiful building, like all like marble floors and like statues and stuff. The building's like 200 years old.
Jesus.
And we filmed in there. Yeah, and then we filmed in there. It was like a lot of really cool locations. Actually, speaking of locations, there was this one scene we had to do, which was in an alleyway, and it was right next to where. What's the big club called? The Met? Yeah, it was an alleyway next to the Met. Yeah, it's got a really cool like brick wall. So we were gonna shoot in there, but so we got the permit from the council, but it was only for the first half of the alleyway because the back half of it was owned by someone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they didn't give permission to us. So they were just like, "Hey, if you shoot here, I'm calling the cops," and then it's basically a $10,000 fine.
How did they tell you that? Was it like a letter, or did someone come out and talk to you, or?
Can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was some sort of email correspondence. That was not my department. I was just first day seeing and working with Brad. But it was real awkward because we had like a van full of gear ready to go. We had unpacked half of it, and then we get told, "Hey, we can't shoot here." And we have like actors coming in. There's like a trained dog as well coming in, and we got to shoot him as well. And we're just like, what do we do? And then someone just says, "There's an alleyway down the road. Let's just go there." And so we just like cross the road, move all the gear over, and then like ask the person who was there, like, "Hey, can we shoot here?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. I'm just closing up shop." And I was just like, "Sweet." And we just go in and film the scene for the next like couple hours, and it's done and dusted. But like, I think the lesson there is just like filmmaking is just so guerrilla, like GUERI. Yeah, like sometimes you just gotta get the shot, regardless of what it takes. But obviously, keep in mind there is the law.
You just talking to me about how you had to move to like an alleyway and how fucked that was, like, just gives me PTSD on the filming from my. Do you remember The Blood Beneath the Nails, our short film that we made? It was it was like the poker.
Blood Beneath the Nails.
It was the poker game, and like one of the dudes was
Oh
wearing a
yes.
cowboy hat.
Oh yes. I remember that one.
Yeah, that was a fucking nightmare to film. Like we filmed it in Sunnybank, and we filmed. Thankfully, the director Matt, his dad, let us have permission to shoot like underneath one of the restaurants, which was like underneath the whole shopping center, and like this like very semi-claustrophobic storage room. There was like no ventilation at all, except for like this little fan on the door, which was fucked. And like we had to like change the whole room, bring the set designers came in, did the room up, and we got like, I think we filmed for maybe like 2 or 3 days, and then we were like, yep, cool, got the shots and packed all the storage stuff back. And then unfortunately our lecturers weren't happy with it, and they said you need to reshoot, so we had to get so we had to get the
I do remember this. Yeah,
we had to get one of all the actors back to reshoot. And mind you, one of the actors like full on like fucking abused me on the set. Anyone who's there would know exactly what I'm talking about. Should I say his name? I don't know if I should say his name.
Dude, name and shame away, mate.
Okay, there was an actor by the name of. He's this bikey dude.
Sounds about right.
Fucking weird, and yeah. So, and because I was the producer on the film, first time producer, mind you, and I obviously had no experience producing, so like I was kind of like just doing my best. And for the initial shoot, we paid all the actors to come in and shoot. Like, we paid them and all that, but we didn't really budget for reshoots. We didn't want to do the reshoots, and I wasn't a part of the camera department. I didn't know what happened, but from my perspective, I didn't think we needed to do reshoots, but we did anyways. But we didn't budget for it, so we're like, okay, fuck. So, fuck. It's so fucked, this story. He kind of like had he had the poker table. He owned that. He owned like a couple other little props. So like, if he didn't come back, we couldn't really do the shoot at all. and he's the type of person that, from my perspective, he won't do anything unless he gets paid. So like we all kind of agreed as a group, is like, okay, he's not going to get paid for the reshoots. He's coming back. We're going to pay him for the props, to actually use the props, but he's also going to come in and do the reshoots as well. And the other actors as well, they were coming back unpaid. So we're really grateful that everyone was coming back and basically just giving a hand at this point. But not once. And the type of person to not ever do anything through text or email. So there's no trail of how he does business, which fucking always have a trail. So we never actually agreed. We never actually agreed when and how he would get paid. He would get paid. We were going to pay him. It's not like we weren't going to pay him. But we just never agreed on it. And so we get there, midway filming, goes up to the director and he's like, hey, basically saying, where's my money? And we're just like, we're in the middle of setting this shot up. Can you go talk to Sam? And I was upstairs. So he walks out from underneath the where we're filming. And he like just starts fucking abusing me. He's just like, I'm fucking coming back here, yada, yada, yada. You don't have my money. Don't fucking, and all this shit. And this is Ali. Do you remember Ali Phillips? She was my co-producer on it.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, she came up to me and she was like, did he abuse you? What did he say to you? Yada, yada, yada. Because after he was finished giving me shit, because he was like, I'm fucking leaving. I'm taking everything with me. Just because we weren't paying him when he fucking, as soon as he asked. And he walked down.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do? Like whip out like $500?
Yeah.
From your wallet? Like,
yeah. Sorry, let me just pull it out of my ass. Yeah. And he walked down. He like disturbed the whole set. He disturbed everyone's work. Like everyone was working, and he's just like causing a scene for no reason. And our Alfred, the cinematographer, he's just like, he whips out his wallet and gives it to Ali, and he's like, "Here's my pin. Take $500 out. How much? I don't even know how much it was. It was probably like. Probably was $500. It's fucking not a big deal. And he's just like, just give him his money. We need to work. And I'm like, mad respect to fucking Alfred for doing that because like...
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he got blacklisted. That actor got blacklisted from SAE. So
He sure did. I actually never heard that story.
Yeah, what did you hear?
Well, no. I mean, like, I never just heard the story.
Oh, you never heard the story before? Oh, okay, right.
I never knew why. I thought he was being a difficult person, but like,
no.
Damn, that's way more intense than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, and I was like, he abused me right in front of and he was misinterpreting, he was misinforming what was going on as well because he was abusing, like he was giving me shit right in front of the other two actors. And he's just like, none of the other fucking blokes here are getting paid, but I'm getting paid. And I'm like, okay, first off, you're being an asshole for saying that. Number two, you're getting paid because you own the props. Everyone else is just doing you a favor. And then I kind of like just turned to the guys and I'm like, okay, that's fucking bullshit. This is what's happening. And then Ali comes up and her and I walk to the ATM. And yeah, like we settled the beef at the end of the shoot. Like everyone was like, we're all clapping like, yay. All the actors are gathering their things, ready to leave. And Ali turned to me and she was just like, do you want to do it? Like give him the cash. I'm like, yep, fuck it. So I went over to him, hand him the money and he's like, thanks mate. And he walks off. I'm like, fuck you dude. Like you're a fucking asshole. Like, and you know what was so funny? This fucking dude, this dude like was trying to hype himself up so much. Like we had a few chats over coffee before that whole thing happened and he was like, this phone right here is so fucking expensive. This is a $20,000 phone. And I'm like, I said to him, like, why is your phone $20,000? And he's like, it's got Hugh Jackman's number on it. It's got yada, yada, yada. I'm like, cool. Like I get, and he was talking to me like I gave a fuck. I'm like, dude, I do not care whose fucking phone number you have on the phone. Like that doesn't bring up the phone number, like the value of the phone in my opinion. But yeah, so I actively went to one of our lecturers and I just said, this is what's happened. I'm never fucking working with this dude ever again. I don't want to have anything to do with him. And yeah, the lecturer was like, yep, yada, yada, yada. This is unacceptable. We'll see what we can do.
Which lecturer was this?
Stephen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Stephen's ledge.
Yeah. And he was like, we'll see if we can get him blacklisted. And I'm like, thank you, please. So the whole reason why I brought up the whole film thing was because, and I've mentioned it in the past that, I've got very mixed feelings in general about the film industry. And you know, I feel like you and I, because I remember I met you on the first day we ever went to SAE. I was with you, me, Caden, and Jamesy. Like all four of us were just like chatting upstairs, and this is Caden. Like Caden fucking wasn't even a part of it.
On the rooftop.
Yeah,
Yes,
on the rooftop.
remember.
Yeah. And I remember you saying that you've been doing filmmaking as like a semi hobby, and you've been studying it as in like you've been looking into it for a few years. So I feel like you and I have a bit of a unique position where it comes to, do we think the film school path is the right way to go? And I've actually been totally against it. I've never once said that yes, it's great, you got to do it. The only pro that I can think of is the connections, but like,
Absolutely.
you know, it's other than that, like I can't really think of anything else. And the part of my reasoning, I've got a lot of reasons why I don't like film school, and specifically, I don't want to say SAE. Well, SAEs, it's a great school. It is a great school, but you know, like how much was that course? Like $70,000. My thing's currently sitting at like I think it's about $70,000, and like that's fucking expensive. Like that's really pricey, and I want to eventually get into directing. Not once did I ever direct a single thing at SAE, so I'm like, fuck, you know.
With that said though, and I've said this to others as well, like SAE is one of those schools that like, and it's a lot like if you don't go to film school as well, you're only going to get as much out of it as you try and put in. Like for me, for example, I really after after my first directing debacle, Station or 5-ation.
Was it Station? I thought it wasn't Station. It was the Star Wars one. We filmed it at Bella's farm. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Would you really consider that your directorial debut, or would you consider Station?
No, I think Station.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was my first like writer director sort of like my project, my vision, and that fell apart right quick because one of the things you got to learn as a filmmaker is sure there's things that you like and messages that you want to tell, but is it watchable?
Fuck me.
Do other people want to see your work? And I think that's a really important question that a lot of young filmmakers need to. Well, that's a lesson that a lot of young filmmakers need to learn. Is sure you might like it, but is it like entertaining? Does it have value? Past sentimental, and I think that's super important because at the end of the day, like no matter what bit of content you're making, you've got to be able to sell it because filmmaking is a business at the end of the day. But back to wait, what was the question?
It wasn't really a question. It was just no, that's an interesting thought. Yeah. Like it is a business.
Oh yes,
yeah.
But in terms of like film school, putting in as much as you want to get out. Like for me, on my spare days, I would come in and just like learn all the cameras. Like it was me and Alfred were like the first people to get proficiency in all the cameras, which basically, for those who didn't go to SA, basically you need to do like a course basically to be able to hire out cameras, prove that you know how to use it so that you don't break a $20,000 camera. So Alfred and I were like the first people to get like proficiency in everything. And for me, I still feel like the repercussions of that. I still feel like that knowledge that I put in has carried me forward to the knowledge that I have today. And it has allowed me to learn faster than I would have otherwise. So in that aspect, the film school was great, access to like high quality equipment. But again, it's one of those things that like if you have the drive to learn it, you'll learn it, regardless of whether you go to film school or not.
I felt my experience at SAE was really, it was a bit all over the place, and I feel like part of me probably didn't put in enough effort. I'll admit it, like I probably should have put in a little bit more effort. Like I'm the complete opposite of you. Like I didn't really, like, okay, if I knew that I would be in the position that I am today, fuck yeah, I would have gone out and I would have learned more about the cameras and stuff like that, and I would have tried to get a lot more experience. And yeah, I totally forgot about those proficiency tests. Like I completely, it's not even in my fucking mind anymore. I remember I had to do one because I was put down as a cinematographer for a project that I did, and I just had to do a proficiency test just to book out the camera. We didn't even end up using that camera. We just used we just used one of the cameras that I had. And it is interesting, and I do think SAE did provide a lot of value, like in that sense. Like you got some great experience with learning the cameras out of it, and I think constructive criticism when you pitch short films as well. Would you agree with Station? That's not me taking a stab at you at all either.
No, I think pitching is so vital to the job as a filmmaker, because as I said before, filmmaking is a business. If you want people to put money towards your idea or put any sort of asset towards your idea, you need to be able to pitch, whether you're a director or a cinematographer or even an editor. Like, you need to be able to sell yourself. When it came to pitching, I had to pitch for cinematography roles. I remember for documentary, the burlesque thing that I did with Sabrina. Absolutely loved that, but there were so many people who wanted to work on that, and I guess just putting yourself out there and just pitching for it and trying to have ideas with value, I guess, is an important skill that you learn. Again, you can learn that not even at film school. Just pitch to people.
Have you seen Jake and Jaden's Simply Story documentaries at all?
Yes, absolutely. I actually, speaking of pitching, I actually pitched to them me doing a couple down here, if I had any access to interesting people.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it's very unique what they're doing. Because I remember, I think I listened to Mars's podcast, and she had Jake on, and Jake was saying that they'd only done like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he's like, yeah, Simply Stories is going really good. We've made 3 or 4 documentaries over the last 2 years. And I'm like, wait, what? And I looked at the date, and it was like just when they were getting started, and I was like, oh, okay. But it's really interesting to see like them being able to pump that out like each week. Like, we're recording this podcast on what date is it? It's the 4th of March. Like, this is a day before this episode comes out. Like, it's then again, I am leaving it last minute, but it's interesting to see them pump out content like constantly, like every single week. And it's surprisingly, they haven't drained themselves. Or maybe they have, they're just obviously not showing that in their craft, but like, it's doing something consistently like that is fucking insane. And it's like how you do the promotional fitness videos at Ryder, where it's like you're doing something so much, like there's always the chance of you getting like mentally drained.
Sorry, what?
Like getting mentally drained, like doing the same thing constantly, like pumping out work and stuff like that.
I think there definitely is the risk of becoming mentally drained. However, I think that if you, as a creative, are trying to keep things fresh and trying to think of things in new ways, there's definitely ways that you could avoid becoming drained. But I also think like and this is something that I really struggled with, don't be, like, creatives, I feel, have a real bad tendency to be really hard on themselves. Like, looking back on their work and just only thinking, like, oh, I could have fixed so much, rather than thinking, hey, I actually achieved something here. And that's what I really like about Simply Stories, is that they're constantly producing stuff and they're constantly able to say, hey, we built this thing. I think that constant creation is such a vital part of being a creator or a creative person, because that drive that you have inside of you to tell a story, at least for me, is so strong. Like, I'll always try and find a way to incorporate that into my work and into my life. Anything that I regret not doing? That's interesting. I think the thing that I regret the most about film school, like that I didn't do, was probably not asking enough questions. I think now that I'm out and now that I'm out of film school and in some sort of creative visual role, there are so many things that are left unanswered that I wish I had asked the people who are in the industry, like those questions, like just so many things like camera staff, like cinematography staff, even like project management and people managing. Like, how do you do stuff like that? So, just really, I think taking on a mentor, like just trying to find a mentor to just show you things, and someone to just drill with questions. I think that's something that I regret not doing.
That's a good one, actually, finding a mentor. If there was anyone at university that you remember studying with, who would you consider to be the closest to a mentor, the closest thing that you would call a mentor at our uni?
As in a lecturer?
Yeah.
I think the closest thing that I probably got was the two cinematography people, Scott Hamilton. By the way, if you haven't seen his script stuff, he's freaking killing it there. But Nick Patton, when he came through and did the cinematography lighting workshops, that was amazing to watch. Absolutely amazing. Just the sort of consideration and the detail in which he sort of lit stuff. I wish I was back there so I could just ask some more questions to understand the process. But the thing with Nick Patton is that he's a professional working. He's not so good at the teaching aspect. So that's one of the things about mentors too. They not only have to be really good, but they also have to be willing to teach, and that's a really tough balance to find.
It's funny to think about because it's been so long, but like I think for me, finding a mentor, I think this is gonna sound funny, but like probably Stephen Lance. Like I know I work with him a little bit more closely towards the end of my my degree, but I don't know, like I think there was just something about him as opposed to other lecturers there. Like whenever I did have a question or I wanted to speak to him about something, he was always very open, and he was, he gave his opinion. Like, at the end of the day, like he will tell you what he thinks, and I think he did add a lot of value to my work that I did, and things that I regret though. I think
Absolutely.
I think I regret not pitching a short film. That's one of the things I respected about Sean was because everyone had like their groups, and then Sean was basically like, no, fuck that, like I don't remember what the film was that he pitched, but the fact that he stood up there regardless, that everyone else had their films ready to go, and he's just like, this is my idea, what do you guys think? I wish I did something like that, and I really do regret not pushing to direct a lot more at uni, considering it is something I want to do, and the fact that I didn't do it, that's what I regret a lot.
That's actually something really interesting that you bring up, because I remember the actual situation in which he had to pitch. It was literally because he had... So just to refresh everyone's memory, we basically came in trimester 5, and were put into the auditorium, and the lecturers were like, all right, find a group. And we were like, we haven't pitched a film yet. We don't have any ideas. And they were just like, find a group. 100%. That was trash. Anyway, we all ended up doing it, and we all ended up finding people. And so did Sean. But I think it was Craig, the Krug, who for some reason was just like, yeah, you don't have a group. But he was like, but I do. And he was like, but you don't. But I do, you don't. And then he was like, well, everyone else has got an editor. And he was, a post-production major. So he was like, what? And he was like, but I really respect his decision to be like, nah, you know what? I'm going to pitch my own film. Like, kind of like you said, like he just had the guts to, go out on a limb and say it. And that's something that I've always respected him for. His ability to just go out and just do things. That's, he's always been a really big inspiration for me, and also why he's one of my best mates.
Again, not a clue what that film was that he pitched, but bravo. Yeah, no. Yeah,
Eventually he did find it good.
Yeah, the whole. Sorry, you're gone.
We actually ended up after uni making our own production company, ALFO, which we did okay with, but it fell apart quite quickly for reasons I won't get into.
What was it called? Was that originally
ALFO?
Was that originally APC?
And then so APC, that was us sort of trying to get a head start in our career, but I think that fell apart just because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah,
which is fair enough to say. Like, young filmmakers, we're an ambitious bunch, but God, were we silly.
Yeah, you end up deciding what APC actually meant. Did you end up deciding what APC actually meant?
I think we both know what APC actually means.
Yeah, I know a few different versions. What top of your head? What do you think it was called?
It's whatever you want it to be, bro.
I always heard it as alpha fat cock.
That's exactly it. I think we were doing something dumb for like some CIU thing, and me, Bella, and Josh and you, we made up some dumb joke, and I think that was the result of it. And then when we came to making like a name for our thing, we were just like, that's the one.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, man, for coming on. Did you want to plug your Instagram or any of your socials at all?
Yeah, so my the only thing I really use is Instagram, and even that not so much. But Alfonso Lizana, I'm gonna make it super difficult for you because you're gonna have to put it here. But Alfonso Lizana, ALFONSOLIZANA. That's it.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for listening, guys. Thanks, Al, for coming on, and we will see you next week, everybody. Thank you.